Yeah, I get it, but I don't get it. It's caused a lot of controversy within the digital art community. It's actually divided a lot of people in that digital art community spectrum. I have a lot of strong opinions about this one. It's a doozy. The world of NFT art has been around for quite a long time now, but it wasn't until recently that eyes are turning towards the crypto art world. Individuals like 3D artist Beeple amassed millions of US dollars for selling a compilation of most of his 3D motion clips. And it's not just Beeple, a lot of well-known artists have been selling a lot for their NFT art pieces. Now, what is this talk of NFT and what does it mean? NFT stands for non-fungible tokens, and I'll get to that soon because it's kind of hard to explain that concept without understanding cryptocurrency and how the blockchain works. Because that's what cryptocurrency and NFT art works on. So let's talk about the blockchain, and this is how I would explain it. I've been watching a lot of videos trying to explain what it is, and a lot of people talk about the technical aspects of the blockchain. So when I explain it, I might get things wrong, but I'll also provide a link of other videos explaining the blockchain way better than I do, but I'm only going to explain how I understand it. So from my understanding, blockchains are a collection of records stringed together. So these records indicate things like ledgers, transactions, IOUs. The big takeaway is this is a system that cryptocurrency uses. So cryptocurrency is basically a representation, kind of like how paper money was first introduced. That paper money or document is a representation of how much gold that is worth. Now every time there's an update to the block or the record, so let's say a new transaction, a new block or record gets added to the chain. Now to make this new record the most absolute, the most accurate version of it, and the most unique version of it, a lot of computer processing work is done. This computer work processes all the data with many different machines and heavily encrypts it with code, timestamps, hashes, etc. with a highly unique key so that exact transaction can't be duplicated or forged. This overall process is what's called crypto mining, and it does utilize a lot of energy, leaving a pretty big carbon footprint. Now, after all that processing, that encryption, after it's all done, it gets added to the chain, saying this is the most accurate, the most absolute version of this record, and it is official. However, in some cases, more than one block representing the same exact record or transaction is processed, but the chain will only accept the one that has the most computer processing work done on it, the most encryption, and only selects that as the absolute and true version of that record. So if everyone was to view this record, everyone will see the exact same version, and it is something that everyone can agree on. So why is the world of cryptocurrency and the whole idea of blockchains with cryptocurrency so appealing? The biggest factor is that it is decentralized, meaning there's no middleman, no bank, no third party or third person, just a transaction between the two parties or the selected parties. So there's no influence of human influence or human error. Now this also leads to the second big point. It keeps your info pretty private. Usually the bank or an online store will get your info, they'll probably sell it online to like Facebook, and all of a sudden you're bombarded with advertisements. With blockchains, it keeps all that stuff out. So you can buy things and sell things that go against a lot of policies from other transaction services. So let's say you can get things like drugs, naughty adult things. Third is that blockchain encryption. That security of things can't easily be retroactively altered and forged due to all that computer processing and due to that unique key being formed, etc., super techy stuff. And that is what a cryptocurrency like Bitcoin uses. And Bitcoin is basically a representation of records and ledgers. Okay, now what if we applied this blockchain concept that cryptocurrency like Bitcoin uses, but with art? And this is where we introduce what NFTs are. NFT stands for non-fungible token, meaning there can only be one of those things. A $20 bill can easily be replaced with another $20 bill, but NFTs are unique and they have their own unique code, their own unique encryption. In other words, there can only be one or a few of them that exist. So I think the best way to sort of talk about this is kind of like trading cards. Imagine real life trading cards where you have a super rare card in your collection and it came from the factory and it was signed by the original creator of those cards. Maybe only like, let's say 1 or maybe 5 exist in the whole world. Sure, there'll be forgeries, there'll be fake cards and here and there, but there's only 5 real ones that came from the original source. Fundamentally, this is kind of like how this NFT art scene works with the blockchain, where it's a token that represents that proof of authenticity. So let's say you make one unique token of your art and you sell your art. Basically, you're selling your token. You don't own it anymore. That other person does now. Kind of like how the real world works. So let's say you're an artist and you want to turn your art into an NFT so you can sell it in the crypto art world. Well, there's this process that's called minting, and minting is that process where you're making that specific highly encrypted token saying things like, this is the real source of the art, this is where it came from, this is when it was made, who owns it, how many there are, and how many should only exist. It's making that highly encrypted data of a token that proves that authenticity. Then you would upload that NFT online and put it up for auction, and there are bidders who, put in their highest bid on who gets to keep the token. And the token will go to the highest bidder after the duration of this auction. Now, if you made a token that says this is the only one that exists, there's no other version, then that token no longer belongs to you. It belongs to this other person now. But this person can also keep it in their collection, they can sell it, but when they sell it, you're also getting a small percentage of that too. So this is kind of why people are saying now digital art is treated in the same level of the same playing field as traditional art, where highly encrypted data is what makes the artwork so valuable and proves that whole proof of authenticity. The easiest way to explain it is they're just rare digital trading cards. And the whole hype about it is an artist can make so much money out of it, a ludicrous amount of money. And people are calling it the cryptocurrency gold rush. However, the topic of NFTs are highly controversial, and as of late, it has highly divided the digital art community. So what's the big deal? Why is it so controversial? So the biggest one that I can think of right now is the environmental impact. This is something that people bring up a lot about cryptocurrency, crypto mining, and NFT token creation or minting. Apparently, getting a few pieces minted or getting a unique token for your art uses a brutal amount of energy, enough to be more than an energy consumption of a country. And a lot of people that I've talked to who have been in the cryptocurrency business or the crypto art world do admit that it is pretty bad. But there's another side that talks about, that whole argument is blown out of proportion. It's not that bad. It's pretty bad, but it's not as bad as that. Some people say it's lobbyists or big companies trying to scare people like us to not get into this crypto art world. And then pro crypto art people will talk about this whole concept of proof of staking. And I'm not going to talk too much about it, but it's just basically another practice that's going to mandate how the blockchain works so it's more green and it doesn't eat up so much power. You can look it up more on your own. Because good lord, knowing about these blockchains, these systems, and understanding how they work, and then understanding what these new concepts are, they're a headache. But let's assume that crypto mining or minting your artwork is brutal for the environment, and artists are jumping onto that. So the controversy here is that if you participate in NFT art, you are seen as a person who is willing to get money over saving the planet. You're willing to destroy the planet just for the sake of money. Whether that's true or not, that is the stigma that's happening right now. And these artists are instantly seen as selfish. But here's something that my friends who are in the crypto art world can agree on, and the ones that I do kind of respect say that it is bad for the environment as of right now. Another controversy that I can think of is it's usually the bigger artists that are going to thrive in this platform, whereas the smaller artists are going to get duped or they're not going to do really well at all. They're probably going to lose money. And I think this whole conversation of greed and, accumulating so much comes into play because there are big artists that we know who are already doing really well, and now they're getting into this NFT art scene that kind of just says they're going to capitalize on this platform, whereas smaller artists are going to suffer. Either they'll suffer or they're not going to get recognized, whereas the bigger artists, they're just going to continue, being big hits. They're probably going to make money because they have all that clout, their fan base, their support, so they already have a market. So big name artists getting into this whole NFT scene, they're getting called out for things like greed. Aside from the whole not caring about the environment, they're seen as people taking advantage of a platform where lesser known artists might suffer. The next controversial thing I can think of is the money and the value of art. So again, the biggest reason why the crypto art world is so huge right now is there's more news of people making thousands and millions of dollars just selling a piece of NFT art. And that's why a lot of people are trying to get into it right now. However, if you were to browse through the crypto art world and look at the art that's being put on there for sale, there's a lot of it where you're like, you know what, that's not actually that hard to make. Some of these aren't even that good. Some of these things I wouldn't even buy, but they're still making a lot of money out of it. And that's the thing, it makes everything look so easy. It's way too good to be true. So a lot of digital artists online are thinking, hey, this is easy and I'm going to make millions of dollars because it's just super easy to do. To a lot of digital artists, it seems like easy money. And if you're someone who doesn't understand the blockchain or the crypto art world or non-fungible tokens, this can easily come across as absurd, it's silly, it's dumb, it makes zero sense, but there's a lot of real easy money involved. The next one is the whole Ponzi scheme. This is whole scheme where people are sold on this whole idea of NFT tokens, that they're going to invest a lot of cryptocurrency in it, they're going to give it their all, they're going to pay for the minting process, the gas fees, the auctioning bills. There's a lot of hidden fees and costs that they don't really talk about when people praise about this whole NFT movement. I have friends who have been in this crypto art world for a long time, and I can kind of see why this can also be an issue, because there's a lot of them that keep saying, yeah, join in this movement, it is great, you're doing it for a good cause, it's time to represent. And then they also promote how much money you can make from it. Yeah, it does feel like you're being recruited in this weird cult. And people who are trying to get artists into NFT art or the crypto art world, they say these things that make the artists feel like they're missing out, that fear of missing out, by saying things like, oh, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity, take advantage of it now, this is a gold rush, if you don't get into this right now, you're going to miss out on something that is life changing. So yeah, there's emotional and mental manipulation when it comes to Ponzi schemes. But people are also saying that the ones who are already there in the first place are going to benefit. The people who will benefit from the system are either big names or people who have been in this space for a long time, way earlier on. And anyone new and small coming in are just going to be taken advantage over. That's another controversial topic that I hear about. Another thing is the whole lack of security, the fact that this is all open, and how anything can be turned into a non-fungible token. It's not just art, but also tweets from someone's Twitter account. Even viral memes are becoming tokenized for this NFT community. Not only NFTs are quite open-ended, but this does question a lot of security issues. If you're noticing a lot of artists kind of locking their accounts right now to the public eye, that's because they're trying to defend themselves from the token bots that's out there right now. There are Twitter bots that people can request for a certain post or a certain artwork to get NFT'd or minted. So someone can be making money out of your work without your knowledge, basically stealing art. Last but not least is the concept of the NFT itself, the non-fungible token itself. So you're not really selling the artwork per se, you're really selling the non-fungible token of that art. So let me explain. With digital art, anyone can view it online and they can download a JPEG of it, they can save it, or they can save like a movie clip that you posted online. But it's not exactly that you're selling, it's the token that you made based off that. And this token, highly mined, highly encrypted, highly specific, is that representation of how rare or authentic that digital art is. So it's just a digital proof of authenticity. And that is the concept that is the most baffling to me. It's weird because you're buying a token that just represents the art and its encryption and that proof of authenticity. And of course, the easiest way to explain it is they're just rare digital trading cards. Okay, fair enough, but what can you use those tokens as besides this digital asset that you own virtually? Could you hang it in a room? Could you put it in a gallery? Is it something where you're basically buying rights to? But from what people have told me, it's not exactly that either. Like, besides having this bragging right of that you own this digital token, that it's part of this virtual collection, what else can you do with this token besides trade it off and sell it through this crypto digital space? That's the biggest thing that's really hard for me to comprehend, and I can see why people see this as sort of a waste of energy in terms of computer mining power or processing power just to mine this abstract data. One of my friends from high school was describing that some crypto art worlds have their own version of Second Life or virtual world where you can have virtual art exhibitions and galleries and exhibit art tokens from there. With real art, it's easy because that thing exists, it was made at a certain time, it's there, it's not just data. And it's physical. It exists in the real world. You can touch it. You can get experts to look at it and kind of date it if they want to prove when it was made, the materials that it was made, and what time period it came from. I remember there was someone that tried to explain NFTs as skins or microtransactions that you can buy from video games, but I highly disagree, because if you were to buy skins or cosmetic materials in video games, you can actually show it in game. The purpose of that is super clear. With tokens, the purpose of those tokens and the value of it is not crystal clear, and I think there needs to be a bit more clarity on that. So what can you use these tokens as besides this, proof of authenticity? Because the easiest part to understand is, yeah, it's like digital trading cards. Okay, but does this mean you own the rights to it? Does this mean that you can show it in a gallery? What else? All I know is that it gets added to this digital collection, this crypto wallet, and you can show it off and share it to other crypto art traders and collectors. Everyone I've talked to kind of understand the basic idea of it. It's just that I don't understand the usage of it besides trading it and showing it off in this crypto art world. Alright, now I'm going to share my overall opinions based on this whole NFT controversy and how I think about it right now. So first of all, I think this whole idea of proof of authenticity, finding a way to make digital art just as valuable as traditional art, I think it's a noble cause personally. And for someone who utilizes digital art, so I make animation loops, and I do little small experimental stuff with it, it feels good to be validated and be as valuable as traditional art. Honestly, when I first heard of the concepts of NFT, I did want to join the bandwagon. It seemed like a lot of fun. It would be fun to make these little small collectibles. But the more I learned about the crypto art world, the controversies, and the weird things about NFT art and tokens, I do believe that NFT tokens have a lot of work to do. Because a lot of it is so unclear and so vague that it doesn't feel safe. So for artists who are pro NFT and are going into it, and for artists who are against NFTs and are against other artists getting into NFTs, I believe that there's a lot of hypocrisy in both sides, and I feel like both sides are really guilty of virtue signaling. So I want to address the NFT artists or the artists who are pro NFT. Now, these artists will praise the platform, saying that they are fighting for the cause of digital art respect, that digital artists deserve the worth and respect as traditional art, and it is a step forward for that cause. The load of bull on that. Okay, first of all, dude, shut up. You're only saying that to justify your actions of getting into NFT and how much money you can make from NFT art. I know some of these artists will fire back, but there's this concept of proof of stake that's being worked up, which is friendly environment. It's not out yet, but it'll be out soon. But it's pretty clear that you're getting into it right now because it can be good revenue for you. And the reason why I'm saying this is that there's an artist that I kind of look up to that, says, yeah, NFT is great for the cause, great for digital artist representation, and then talks about this whole proof of staking. And the same artist says, if you want to know more about my opinions on NFTs and why I'm joining it, please subscribe to my $2 Patreon. So it's pretty clear that the priority is on the money and the business. And while I was editing this video, the same person just kept posting how much money they made after their first sale. So if you're someone that's going to publicly show off how much money you made during an NFT sale or an NFT bid, whatever it is, it's pretty clear that the priority of money is embedded in your personality. Look, if you just said you're there to make money, to capitalize, even if it means taking advantage over a system or maybe taking advantage of a few poor souls, I'd have a little more respect for you because at least you're being a bit honest. But for you to virtue signal and say how it's a great cause, you're part of the problem that makes this whole thing feel like a Ponzi scheme because it just feels so ingenuine and you're not really being honest with yourself. Also, I hate it when these big artists who are getting into NFTs start preaching things like, oh, we're artists and we should treat our fellow artists with respect and we should just support them. We shouldn't be fighting over these things. We should respect it because it's for the cause. First of all, shut up. If you do something that goes against or maybe offends someone else's values, you cannot expect them to support your cause or to even respect you. Every action has its own consequences. You make your choice, be prepared for the effects from it. Live with it. I think the biggest thing I would say about people getting into NFT art, whether that's a big name or a small name, just be honest with yourself, really. If you want to accumulate as much money as you can, even if that means compromising other people or compromising the planet, I guess, be a capitalist and admit that you're a capitalist. I instantly lose respect for people who try to sugarcoat things and make it sound morally right, that they're fighting for a cause. Another thing that I would like to criticize is that a lot of artists getting into NFT right now don't really understand NFTs. All they see is, oh my god, there's so much money in it. So they jump into it not really fully understanding what NFTs are, and they're just in it for the quick cash or quick gold. Okay, this is just a personal thought. If you find digital art so valuable, why do you have to go out of your way to justify how it's valuable because of these tokens? And why do you have to prove that with a purchase of NFT art? There are many ways to support this digital art cause. You can support another artist, you can collaborate with another artist and work on a cool project together. Say something together. That's way more powerful than using this NFT token as a means to justify digital artists are worthy of this much money. For artists against NFT and against artists getting into NFT, and you're shaming NFT artists because of things like the environment. And because the whole topic of environment is constantly brought upon based on this whole NFT controversy, let me ask you personally, what are you doing personally to fight for the earth? Because let's say you're a consumer of meat or you support the meat industry. If you do your research, one could argue that's just way worse than cryptocurrency because it's just as bad. It leaves a terribly brutal carbon footprint, but it also violates other things like animal rights and human rights, led to deforestation, and there's a lot of things that we could be doing that's just as bad for the environment. And I know some people will fire back saying, oh, but those are things that are tangible and things that we can enjoy, things that aren't just as abstract as crypto tokens. And those are just data. We don't know what they're used for. I've seen some people bring up, hey, what about these things? These are also just as bad for the environment. And some of these people will fire back saying, don't change the subject. We're only talking about NFT tokens and how bad that is for the environment. If you do bring up talks of the environment, these comparisons will always be brought up. I was asking a question because I was kind of clueless to like the power consumption of render farms and how that's different from crypto mining. And a lot of people brought up really good points. But there's always that one person who'll say things like, don't you even dare, or don't spiel on things like, this is also just as bad as crypto art, etc., etc. So there's a lot of people who are intentionally trying to shut that conversation down. Then there are people complaining about hidden costs like mining and minting gas fees and bidding fees, and complaining and realizing that they have to pay money for that crypto art world, and suddenly they feel like they're duped. Well, anything that's going to promise a lot of money somehow, I'm pretty sure there's going to be a lot of sacrifices, a lot of investing, and investing either means you gain some, you lose some. So I run my own business. I run a corporation, and there's a lot of fees that I didn't even know about, but I had to pay them. There's franchise taxes. There's fees depending on what part of the town you live in, whether you're a C Corp or an S Corp. If you're an artist who's prepared a booth or a table at some of these art conventions or these animation conventions, you have to break even because those fees for a table could be pretty pricey, and then also preparing prints of those things. Oh, and also thinking about lodging and your stay, how you deal with traveling. Now, it doesn't matter what the nature of this business is, but if there's money involved, there's going to be a lot of costs involved. I'm not here defending the whole crypto art world or the NFT art world. I just find it absurd that people feel duped or are surprised by these fees. Well, of course. It's also your job to do that research. As for the greed element, so let's say artists or people complaining that big names are going to take advantage of the system and make no room for smaller artists. I mean, the world was never fair, and if you have a bigger following and you have bigger clout, a bigger fan base, I guess, these platforms might work to their favor rather than artists who have zero or little following. And this is a conversation that's not just about NFT art at all. And one of my friends said it best, if people actually like the work that you do, they'll follow you, they'll invest in you. And that doesn't always have to be strictly the NFT art world. Now, let's talk about this. Would I get into it? Should you get into it? So the reason why this whole NFT topic or this whole NFT conversation stressed me out for the whole month was because it did question my own personal values. And this is something that I encourage all of you guys to think about in your own spare time. Just think about what you value in your work. So when I talk about values, I'm not including anything like morals or ideals or what's considered right or wrong, because everyone has different morals, but I guess that could also be a part of what you value. So, I'm thinking about things like, do you prioritize money? Are you prioritizing the creative process of your art? Is it the learning experience? Is it the legacy of that work? I mean, the overall thing I want you guys to think about is, does this whole NFT art world line up with your own goals, with your own life? And I'm sure some of you are feeling a sense of FOMO, the fear of missing out, of not partaking in something like this gold rush. That's a valid feeling to have. So if I were to talk about myself, I won't be getting into it anytime soon. And the short answer is, it's because I'm just too busy for it. I also have personal goals that NFTs don't match up with. Also, my number one rule of getting into any business is that I see myself more of a customer first and a seller second. I don't buy crypto art and I don't trade crypto art, and the thought of it does not appeal to me. I'm someone who probably supports a Patreon or buys tutorial videos and video courses and educational material, or even assets like brushes, stock material. I monetize out of tutorials and educational stuff, and I buy that stuff too. And the concept of this NFT art or this crypto art is still weird to me. I understand the basic idea of what it is, but it seems a bit too unclear and I don't really know what I'm getting aside from this abstract collection of data that's supposed to represent a proof of authenticity. So if I feel like I don't really understand or see the value in it, I won't get into it. And if it's something that I don't personally see any value in me using, as well as it burning so much resources and energy, or in other words, being brutally bad for the environment, I personally don't feel that's worth investing in. So would I recommend anyone getting into it? So let's take the environmental impact out of the equation, because I feel like that's the biggest factor that's preventing a lot of people from getting into NFTs in general. So if that wasn't part of the equation, would I still recommend it? Well, for new inexperienced artists, I would advise strongly against it. Don't be fooled by the craze right now. I think you should be spending most of that time finding who you are as a person, that identity, making things that you enjoy, participating in work, and I don't feel NFTs are a good place for that. Because if NFTs are your first rodeo, your work is going to be heavily influenced by this NFT marketplace, more so than finding your identity. Someone like Beeple formed his identity outside of NFTs through like Instagram or these motion clips, where he'd make a 3D motion clip every single day with relevant subject matter, and that's the brand and identity he formed. If you're new, I think most of that time should not be spent on NFTs and you just trying to improve, exploring your own voice, and again, finding that identity. Also, if you're a new and experienced artist, you're probably not going to have money, and you're probably going to spend way too much money on just trying to get an NFT stuff set it up, and people probably won't buy it, so that might be a loss for you. Now, for artists who feel like they're missing out on this gold rush, and they really want to get into NFT because they don't want to miss out on this, I say don't. You don't want to make any decision that's based off an emotional spur, an emotional jump. You might also want to think that if it's something that you actually see yourself actively on for a long time, and you do see yourself participating in a lot of these activities and business that this NFT marketplace has to offer. And also think about your personal goals and values right now. Like, does this NFT actually fit with your roadmap right now to getting closer to who you see yourself in the future? If you just want to make money, there's many other ways you can make money. Building a brand and image, selling that, making tutorials, selling educational material, selling assets, selling stock material, brush packs, having a crowdfunding account like Patreon, streaming and teaching a class through that. There's a lot of other ways you can make money that seems very crystal clear in what you're receiving or giving to the other person. Now, if you're someone who just wants to get into it because there's a lot of big money, but you don't really understand the blockchain or NFTs in general, I would say just don't do it. But this is general business advice, really. Like, if it's something that you don't understand and something goes wrong or something doesn't go the way you expect it to be, then that's just on you. However, that is just my opinion. If you're an artist and if you really want to tap into NFTs, I would say do all the research you can about it. The money, what NFTs are, the crypto art world, the ecological and carbon footprint, the arguments against and supporting NFTs and the blockchain. Research as much as you can. Recount what you value too. So things like, do you prioritize money, the creative process? Do you value your carbon footprint? Do you like improving? Does the NFT world match with your current goals? If you want to be a greedy capitalist, be a greedy capitalist and don't sugarcoat it with a good cause. If you're really careful about your carbon footprint, don't do anything to compromise that. And this includes factors outside of NFTs alone. Anyways, that's all I'm really going to talk about. This whole NFT thing has just given me a big headache. I'm done. Bye. Interested in learning hand-drawn animation or learning how to finish an animated shot from beginning to end? Have a look at the store where you'll find the complete introduction to 2D animation video course, tutorials, and other resources. Learn classical animation approaches, drawing, lectures, techniques, and other process videos. Visit the store through the link in the description below.